sometimes life happens, man, and you always think that your problem is huge until you hear somebody else's problem. And it's all relative because that person's problem is to them, it's the biggest problem. But to you, it's like nothing relative to what you're going through. You know what I mean? So it's like it's always relative. And that's the struggle we face as men. I wouldn't call it a struggle, but I think it just makes us tougher. And a lot of times I don't think the world number one, the world doesn't owe us any favors, and the world doesn't see it as anything to not necessarily cry over, but the world doesn't wouldn't understand your complaints. Like if you complain to the world, it's like you got to deal with it. But on the other hand, if a woman's struggling or she's going through stuff, people are more sympathetic and they're willing to listen, to help, to assist. But as a dude, hey, suck it up. Like, you're going through all that stuff with the plumbing, you got to fix the drains, you got to fix all that stuff. And it's just a normal, like, it's not like your wife doesn't care. I'm sure she does, obviously, but in her mind, oh, you're there. Like, you're going to be the one to deal with it. Like, still, it takes a lot away from them. Like, it takes the burden away from them. You know what I mean? So they don't have to worry or think about these things as opposed to us. The slightest thing that happens, it's on us. Whether to them, whether to us, whether to the household, it's still us. So,
Yeah, no, you're
definitely,
right.
man.
I look at it like it's a thankless job. And don't get me wrong, we're not taking anything away from women and
No, no,
your
not at all.
challenges and
Not at
struggles.
all. Yeah,
They definitely do so much. I
yeah.
recognize there's a million things. That nurturing side of things, it's like, what? It's amazing, right? But I think to your point, what you're saying is that nurturing does get recognized, where I think a lot of times male struggles and being a provider, it's just kind of expected,
Yeah, it's your job.
right? That's our job. We're the man. And, and sometimes, again, it's not my love language, but I know there's a lot of men that do need those affirmations. And I think we focus so much on affirmations on, for the kids, for the wife, for the girlfriend, for the mother. But a lot of times men go without praise. This other side to the coin of that, though, is I will critique some of our men. We don't talk enough. We don't communicate enough. We don't let people know our feelings. We don't express our
But
feelings.
I'm gonna
So,
let you finish and I'll push
it,
back on that a bit, but go ahead.
sure. And so sometimes it may come down to how does one validate us if we don't ask for validation?
Yeah. Yeah, okay.
All right, boss.
Yeah, no, I'm just no,
What's your
I was
pushback?
I was thinking through what you said and I was thinking through what I was gonna say. If you speak with other men, they're gonna share what they're going through as well. Which in a way, I guess you can look at it as a way to just at least vent and get it out there. But I find when you say speak out or talk about these things, you should expect that you're speaking to other men just to find out, just to get that venting out, just to get it out and say, okay, you know what, I'm going through this, I'm going through that, because other men will also tell you, okay, I'm going through this, I'm going through that myself. But I don't know necessarily that you speaking out will generally solve the problem that you might be going through. Maybe it relieves the stress, but I don't know how it'll solve it other than you taking the, charge and doing it by yourself. So maybe to your point, you get encouragement from other men for sure. And one thing I would say is never tell your problems or try to relay what you're going through to a woman because they'll never understand. They don't understand the world that we live in. So I know I'm contradicting myself where it's like, okay, talking to other men, it's helpful, but to me, it doesn't really solve the problem. It's just to vent and help you, you know, feel a little bit relieved because you don't want to talk to your wife or other women. They won't understand. So I don't know. Like for me, I just like to solve the problem. Like I tell other dudes, then you're gonna hear their problems too, and it's like, okay, well, how does that help me? So that's the way I see it.
I kind of think differently. I actually think communicating with the opposite sex, especially people that you're invested in, is always important. But I do agree with you, they're not going to understand. but I think we got to try. It's like I work. I know I'm not going to finish everything, but I got to chip away. And so talking is always important. Communication is one of the four pillars. I believe there's four major pillars in a relationship. I'm trying to see if I can remember. Like communication, affection. There's a couple other ones I don't remember. Please, in the comments,
That's
remind me.
okay.
But I know communication is one of them. So I actually would push back on that. You're right. They're not going to understand, but it's our only option. God made us completely different. At least if you're talking, that's half the battle. Understanding is the next step. But if
Yeah.
you just, but mind reading and just assuming, you know, and I was watching this other video, I never realized this, but it is impossible for a woman to apologize.
Dude, I was just gonna
Literally.
I was just gonna ask that question. Like, do you find that it's impossible for I was like, that's how you know we're on the same wavelength because I was just about to say that. Like, I don't know what it is with apologies to them. It's like a plague in their system. Like for them to, if they say it, it becomes like a disease or something. Like they don't want that disease to manifest itself. So they just keep it inside and don't say anything. Like, just apologize if you're wrong. I don't know what, I think it's just the way we're made, that God made, the way God made us. Like, we're just different. We're different.
100%. I think we're more logical based.
True.
If this stops or if this fails, it's pretty cut and dry. It's black and white. This failed. It was my idea. I'm
Mhm.
accountable.
Mhm.
Versus a woman that's more emotionally driven. So it's more kind of this meandering, winding road. And am
But
I
you,
really wrong? Should I
but
be
you think that,
wrong?
yeah, but if you're
Mm.
more emotionally driven, wouldn't you think that that's where it'd be easier for you to apologize as opposed to where you're logical, where you're stoic and it's like, no, I'm not going to apologize. You know what I mean? So you would expect that they would be they'll be more willing to apologize, but that's not the case. I mean,
I
that's in my experience,
Yeah.
you know?
I don't know. I just feel with emotions, it's the quite opposite of logic. And I think that's the problem because being sorry is a very definitive thing. It's a very factual thing. I think with women, it's very emotional based. And so, you know what I mean? It's not as clear cut, So, for example, it's probably a bit too much. I think my daughter was having some period pains and she's down here with me. She's texting me, can I go to her mom's house?
Eh,
And I was busy, but I guess she just needed to go to her mom's house because she didn't want to talk to me about it. So she asked to go to her mom's. It was a strange ask, and I was busy. It was in the middle of the day. And then all of a sudden, I think she went upstairs and then she spoke to my wife. And then my wife took care of her. And then all of a sudden, she came downstairs all happy, playing video games with her friend. And I'm like just thinking, and then my wife came down and she's like, "Hey, just FYI, Jill is going through some really bad period pains." And I was like, "Why didn't you just tell me?"
it's
And
different.
she was, I know.
Different.
Well, I'm just, how is it there? It's emotional,
No,
right?
but
Logically,
no, but what I'm
no,
trying to tell,
hold
okay,
on, wait,
okay,
wait,
okay, go
one
ahead.
second, one
Go ahead.
second.
Yeah.
Come on, a guy, if you're hurt and you need help, whoever is available, you're going to go to. Come on, be honest,
Not
right? I mean, obviously not
necessarily.
a
No,
child.
no, no.
You're saying that you
It's
would walk
different.
over a
It's different.
perfectly healthy person
Mhm.
for help and not get help from that person?
Well,
And you need help?
in
I don't
this,
know.
in this
I think it
scenario,
comes down to a logic.
well, that scenario, I don't know that it's logical because number one, we don't know what that experience is like for us, right? Because we're men,
No, that's why I
obviously.
said it. That's why I said just help. If you're in pain and you
Mhm.
need help, logically you would go to the person that is the most feasible.
Which is her
She
mom.
did not do that.
Which is her mom
No,
or
no,
another
but
female.
no, but but remember we have shared custody. So her
No,
mom
I
is
know, I know.
12 kilometers, 13 kilometers away.
Okay.
So that's not feasible. You get it? And I just said it's an awkward ask in the middle of the day.
Yeah.
Just want to clarify that.
No.
Continue.
I get it, but I'm saying that to her, you wouldn't really understand. Just like to us, they wouldn't really understand what we go through as men from a mental standpoint when it comes to dealing with issues around just everyday life. They can listen, but they won't. it's hard for, okay, the sympathy and this empathy, we can't empathize with them because we can't put ourselves in their shoes. And it's the other way around when we're going through stuff. So for her, that's why your wife was able to relate with her because she's another female. So she's been through that and she
Mhm.
knows what it feels like. So she can empathize with her. And even that empathy alone can help with the pain. We can't, like, you're just going to be like logical. Okay. Did you take Tylenol? Did you do this? But that's not what they want. Sometimes with them, it's just for someone to comfort them and just talk to them through it, talk them through it. At least with that kind of situation, I'm not, I'm speculating here. As opposed to us, when we tell you a problem, we're looking for a solution or some kind of logical way to fix it. With them, that's not the case. So you're
So
thinking
how
it
does
from,
single
go ahead.
how does single fathers do then with daughters?
Well, that's the thing, right? And that's where a lot of times either through their mothers, like the single father would have a mom, or some kind of relative that's female that would be able to relate with that. I mean,
And when they don't,
they usually do. They'll have some that they
I'm
relate
just,
with.
I'm just,
They usually
but
do.
you
They
can't say
typically
that for
do.
every, okay,
Well,
but you can't
the
say that for every
exception,
scenario.
not everybody, there's always going to be exceptions, but generally they do.
Okay, so
Yeah.
let's focus on that exception. What
Why? The
do
exception doesn't make the rule,
I'm
though.
pushing,
I
Jai, I'm
know,
pushing. So
I know,
what? Let's
I
take the
know.
exception.
Okay.
A little girl,
Mhm,
she's 15 years old. She
mhm,
only has her father, no
mhm,
women in her life, and just
mhm,
her father.
mhm.
What does she do?
Well, in that situation, the girl also knows that her father's the only person. So there's not going to be empathy, but there's going to be sympathy. And that's what she probably have to deal with and relate with. Because growing up, if she doesn't have any or anyone that's a female around her, she's probably already used to that. So she'll know that her dad would provide some kind of comfort in maybe pain root, like recommending Tylenol, helping her maybe make a warm water or something, or compress or something. So in that situation, she knows that she doesn't have any other options or any other choice. So she's gonna just stick with what her dad recommends. But in your situation that we're talking about, there's a plethora of females available. There's her mom, there's your wife, there's so many people around her that she can speak with or talk to. And even in that
Yeah,
scenario that she's single, the 15-year-old, she's going to have friends that she's going to call or talk to. And those names can probably just talk her through it and say, okay, but again, to my point, we're not going to understand that particular scenario. And, and they're not going to understand what we go through when it comes to fixing things. That's all I'm trying to say.
yeah. So I hear you, but I guess where I kind of hear what you're saying,
Good
but
job.
don't hear what you're saying. My 15-year-old, so that was my 19-year-old, my 15-year-old. She's always saying, "Daddy, take me to the store. I gotta get pads." Like, can't you just say, "Take me to the store"? But she just
You're
flat
her
out
dad.
like, "Take me to the
You're
store."
you're her dad, man.
So
They're
that,
the
so this is
hunters. Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
And I have to, I always, when I hear it, I just have to not make expression because I'm like, I don't want to, I don't want to condition my daughters to think this is something wrong, even though in my head I'm
Of course,
cringing.
of course.
But so, anyways, and then she'll be like, I'll be like, "What's wrong, Kira?" This is Kira the 15. Pain, period. So all I'm just saying, I argue, I hear you, but I have one daughter that will just come at me, right? Daddy, you're the only one here right now. I, you got to help me,
You gotta
right?
help me out.
My
Yep,
daughter,
yep.
my older daughter is more reserved, and she's the one that would jump around, look for everybody else but me. So we're getting off topic, but my point, what I'm trying to say is, I think men, just in general, just blanket logical. I think most men,
I agree with you
despite
on
their
that.
personality, would
Mhm.
just do things a certain way, versus women, because that emotion, that estrogen. That's why I brought this all up. It's just is that you never know. You know what I mean? It's like opening a Cracker Jack box and you don't know what kind of toy you're gonna get. So
True.
versus a male, just kind of more. You may have some variances, but not as much. So
No, and that's. I was watching this. a YouTube video where this guy was describing an experiment that they did where they put 10 guys, I don't know how many guys, but the same number of women and guys on a deserted island, and they asked them to fend for themselves. And within 3 days, they had to come in to rescue the women because they would have died. Like, I don't think it was 3 days. I think he said a day or two or something like that. Meanwhile, with the guys, they were thriving. Like, they were able to survive. So, and
So were they
that's,
co-mingling, or are they boys versus girls?
no, it was just boys versus girls. So on the same island, they put the guys, and the same scenario situation, they put the women, and they just wanted them to survive. It's almost like a Survivor series, but different, I think the way he described it, I didn't watch the show, but I'm just going based off what he said. And the guys, they were fine. Like because we understand hierarchy, we understand logic, we understand who does what best, as opposed with females, it's almost like, everybody is equal and everybody needs to share things. And I think the joke he was making was like, oh, when they wanted to find food to eat, they're like, oh my God, like you can't kill a rabbit or you can't kill that. That's not nice. But who the guy said like, no, we gotta eat, Because that's logic. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
if I don't hunt a rabbit or an animal, we will starve and we'll die. There were women that like, no, that's not nice. Like, the emotions, like, oh, how can you kill another animal? That's unfair. And lo and behold, they had to rescue
She's the
them.
first. She's the first one to take a bite out of it when it's cooked.
Exactly. But that's a typical. But don't get me wrong. We need what like it's not a situation where is an option. We need women. Like they what our wives do, like we can't replicate it. And what we do, they can't replicate it either, which is why we complement each other.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying that to look down on females. I think they're equally as important when it comes to especially raising our next generation. And together we're better together than single, than alone. Oh, just wanted to throw that out.
No, you're right. You're right. And I think one of the challenges, I think we touched on other podcasts, but I am truly concerned about the feminist movement and the Me Too's and all these things. And
Yeah, it's
we're
pretty
kind of seeing, I think the Me Too happened like 2, 3 years ago. And now we're seeing some of the after effects. A lot of the people that were internet publicly castrated through public opinion, they're now being vindicated, or those trials are being redone because it was this whole quick to judgment scenario, and it's really becoming a problem.
yeah.
I am concerned for the generation. I'm concerned for my son. Can he really be a man? Can he, like I remember when I was a kid, you are the man. You have to step to the girl.
Yes.
Doesn't matter what happens, you have got to talk to that girl. She is not going to talk to you. And if my son now grows up thinking I can't talk to her, it scares me because I'm seeing a lot of these. This might be another touchy topic, but a lot of these super rich celebrities and their kids are coming out trans. And my concern is that maybe that's just not enough masculine influence and energy. Again, I have nothing against if this is your preference. I have no judgment. I'm just saying that sometimes your lack of a certain type of gender, I believe, can sort of pseudo affect you.
I hear what you're
It's a touchy
saying.
situation.
It's very touchy. Yeah, I hear what you're saying in the sense that men, especially these young kids, are not as forward as we were. It's changing in their generation now. And I remember having a conversation with a guy, like we're playing basketball, and this girl walks past, and I saw him was looking at her, and I'm like, oh, like you admiring her? And it's like, yeah, she looks nice and stuff. I'm like, so why don't you go talk to her? He's like I can't do that. I'm like, why not? He's like, can't do
How
that,
old is he?
Yeah, I think he's 19, 20. She was about his age. She looked really young anyways. But,
Yeah.
and I'm like, why can't you talk to her? And he looked perplexed. Like, why would I ask him to go talk to her? And I'm like, isn't that the norm? And he was explaining to me how, no, you just don't approach girls like that. Like a lot of times, like you follow them either on Instagram and then you You start chatting with them online, and then if they like you, then you
Mhm.
start. And I'm like, how is that? Like I couldn't my in my brain I couldn't fathom like it just didn't make any sense to me. But that's the world that we live in. So when you have situations where, and I don't know if that's general for everyone, I just given that as an example. But if that's a situation with these young kids where a lot of the times they meet people online, that doesn't embolden them. They're not used to rejection. They're not used to going after a girl and not getting the girl that they want and trying again. They're not used to trying. They're just it's like, okay, well, I'll try online. At least that way it's less of a rejection in person. So they don't have that feeling of, okay, I'm not good enough, right? Or I need to work harder. And it doesn't make them masculine enough, in my opinion, because what makes a man is when you fail, you try harder and you get that confidence because you're building it as you're trying and you're failing and you're trying again. But if you never try, you're just going to be lackadaisical and just think everything comes easy, right? Or not even just comes easy, you just think everything is simple in life because you're not used to trying.
I I remember this is years ago, when, like, at the playground at recess, one of the girls would ask, do you like her? You as a guy, you're just playing handball, whatever. You're like, I don't know. Why? Like, we're doing something. And I think a week later, we are all on a three-way call. No internet back in the day, right? We're
And
on a
of
three-way
course,
call. And it was me and my boys, and then a couple of the girls. And then all of a sudden, it was just me and on the phone. Like everyone just went.
everyone
So then
hung
I'm
up.
like, this is weird, but
Awkward.
so how you doing? And then we just started talking. And then I had to go to her house and introduce myself and to her family. So, that's what a man has to do. I would never expect her to introduce herself to my family first.
Right?
Yeah. And so the whole point is, does this generation have that? Will they be doing that? Probably not.
It's
Like the
tough.
three-way thing, it's all online now and it's all a whole bunch of people that everyone's watching. It's a glass. It's like living in a fishbowl now. And it's kind of scary.
And the reality of it is, we have to train these kids to face and understand that they're not always going to get what they want and there is rejection. It's a training thing, especially when you get rejected by females. You don't know, like as a kid, you don't think of it mentally as the world is preparing you for something. But if you're getting everything your way, that's number one. Or you don't even know what it is to try at something. How do you grow up to be strong? How do you grow up to face obstacles as a guy? You know what I mean? Like we are just talking about you having to fix your bathroom, like went from one problem to the other, and the price just kept going up and up. How would a kid who grows up without facing rejection, without going any kind of obstacle, grow up to that situation and he has a house and all of a sudden the bathroom's leaking and the tiles needs to be replaced? Like these are the things that make us men. When we go through these things as young boys or young kids, we're not scared to go through that because we face obstacles growing up. And that might not be the same, but somehow it prepares your mind to know that the world is not always cookie cutter. Like not, everything doesn't go the way it's planned usually. Like some things go wrong and you just have to deal with it or work with and fix it and work it out. I was gonna say the other thing is in today's day and age, I was watching a YouTube video and they say, I think was this 60% of relationships are not current relationships like us, but relationships now with these younger generation, they actually meet online. So a good
Mhm.
half number, probably even more, I don't know, meet online. And that's a scary statistic when you think about it. So I don't know.
Yeah, I'm part of that. I've always been on computers all my life, ever since I was like 10 years old. Then I met my daughter's mother online. It wasn't through the traditional way. We just kind of knew each other, and then we just started off and on, just popping up in each other's feed. I forgot what it was, what
Black
platform,
Planet or
but
High Five.
no, I don't think it was one of those.
Yeah,
But yeah, that was back in the day.
I'm just joking,
And
man.
don't
Just
get
I'm
twisted,
aging
I was
us.
on that.
I'm Black Planet.
Yeah,
Oh my God.
close. I was up on that bad boy. I was in university in Detroit. Anyways, that's a
Oh,
different story.
yeah, different time.
I like, yeah, different time. So we just kind of met, and then one day, every time I'd meet her, I was in a relationship. Every time she'd meet me or I'd connect with her, she was in a relationship. And then one day, one summer, we were both single, and then we just started clicking and connecting, and we have two beautiful daughters as a result of that. So I don't think there's anything wrong with online. I
No,
think it's
no, not at
just,
all. Not at all. No.
yeah.
Let me preface that. There's nothing wrong
Mhm.
with online. It's the underlying issues of how kids today, like with us, meeting online is different, but I'm talking about with kids. Meeting online t- it should not be the norm. Like for us, our generation, if you meet a person online, that's okay because we're still able to meet a person at a bar, at a grocery store, and still talk. But with these kids, they don't know how to talk to females. The boys don't know how to talk to girls. That's where the issue is. So online dating or meeting people online, absolutely, there's nothing wrong with that. Yeah.
No, you're good. That's a good point. I was kind of allude to that. I was just thinking, just to real quickly, some nothing's wrong with online, but it's just your attitude and how you approach it. So I think you kind of basically said that. So that's great. And just your maturity too, right? So to your point, I know what it's like to be in the club and not know if this girl likes me or not, and then just take a chance. I know what it's like to get rejected. I know it makes your heart sink. Like I'll never forget it.
Dude.
The worst rejection I ever had. There's this girl I kept seeing downtown, and we kept, passing by each other. This is before I knew my wife, and I was so sure we were locking eyes,
Yeah.
but then we're just passing by each other every day. But I could have swore I thought we were locking eyes. So I said, okay, you know what? I'm going to,
Gonna try.
yeah, I'm going to try. And I remember I did, and I stopped her, and I guess I was fumbling, and then all of a sudden she just walked off. It's like, damn. And I
That's
just kept
cold.
walking. I didn't even look back. It was just
That's
so
cold.
painful.
That's
Yeah.
cold.
It's
One
so,
rejection
but my
story.
point is,
Sorry, go ahead.
yeah.
I have
But
one
my
story
point,
too, but go ahead.
yeah. My point is that that builds you. It's so hurtful, but it builds you up. And that's what I think we both are saying this generation doesn't have. Those pitfalls, those bruises.
No, my rejection story was at the gym. And this girl, I'd been seeing her at the gym. I used to go there late at night, like 10, 11 o'clock. And I was like, okay, wow, it's, get an opportunity. So one night she came, as soon as I got close, she's like, I'm sorry, I'm going to stop you right there. I'm just here to work out. I'm tired. I really don't want to talk. I'm just here to work out. Okay, thank you. That was it. But you know how it is. It's like, I mean, she wasn't rude about it. She was actually polite and said, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm just going to stop you right there. She didn't let me get a word out because she didn't want to waste my time. And I mean, I wouldn't say I appreciated that because, but at the same time, she didn't let me waste my time because some girls will let you just talk and then afterwards you're like, no, thank you. Like, so she was very upfront about it, but it did hurt. But that's what builds you, that's what builds confidence.
Exactly.
So, next time you know what to do, and you know how and what not to do. So, yeah.
And I got another one. It has a better outcome. So in university, there's this girl I really had a crush on in my psychology class or whatever. I think it was a psych class. And I initially stepped to her, and she completely just ghosted or like just rejected. Like again, another just walk off. And I was like, wow. And I was like, okay, it's all good. But
Fair
we're in the
enough.
same class. So I would just, respectfully, it's a big class, right? And I remember one day she was in the caf or walking by, and all I said was, "Hey, stranger," that's it. And then I expect she was gonna just completely walk past me. All of a sudden she stopped. And then we ended up connecting and talking, and yeah. So
Wow.
the thing about it is that even though I got rejected, the fact is that I guess we knew each other because it's a huge class, and now she knew my face. And though I felt like she didn't like me, obviously I'm not completely wrong, but the fact is we ended up talking and sort of dating. So the whole point of the moral of the story is, sometimes rejection can lead to great
Yeah.
things. And so ultimately, the reason why we brought up all this is because does this generation have those pitfalls? Is this generation going through all these things to help grow them, or at least particularly men, to help grow them to be confident, to build confidence in themselves, to understand that, just to your point, there's nuances in life. There's ebbs and flows. There's ups and downs. There's failures and wins. I actually think I learned more from my failures than I learned ever from any wins.
Mhm.
I think failures are so amazing. I mean, not saying amazing in that sense, but it
It
gives you an
builds you.
opportunity to grow.
It built for
Oh,
sure.
yeah. So on that note, we're going to stop this segment. So once again, hopefully you guys found this valuable. Again, please comment, like, subscribe, and let us know if you like this content. We'll keep producing more of this type. All right. Until next time.
Bye, guys.